Yo, people, welcome back to the channel. Hope you all are well. Oh, and yeah, we're back with another video. And the World Cup is coming to an end. We're close to World Cup ending. But before we get to the final and everything, first have to get through the semi-final, and that is what we will preview. But before we will preview the semi-final, we'll talk a bit about all the quarterfinals that's happened, some shocks. Looks like Croatia doing a madness. Morocco, um, and then of course France doing the job of England. Gareth Southgate, should it go? Should it not? Yeah. So yeah, we'll get into everything. But yeah, before we start, make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. We will get into all of the news and everything. So yeah, let's get into it. Quarterfinal review. Um, we'll start off with, of course, the man. Of course, let's start off the goats. um, Lionel Messi, of course, played. He basically did the job versus the Netherlands. For that game, if we look, it was a close game. Argentina, they they were leading 2-0. Thought they would do it easy, 90 minutes. Then Netherlands bring on Weghorst, who got a yellow card while he was still on the bench, which is actually so mad. Like coming off the bench while you already have a yellow card, madness. And then you got who else? You got and then that he scored 2 goals in the 82nd minute. Then in the 101st minute, last I think that's a like the um like like nobody has scored so late in a World Cup match, like 101st minute. So yeah, I think that's one thing which is a bit crazy to think, like scoring. And yeah, and of course there was 17 yellow cards. Madness. Be up yourself, Kenny. Says yes, I know. But good, bro. Hope you are good, Kenny. Hope you are good. So yeah, I'm just gonna quickly. So that was the first match, and then of course it went extra time. Nothing really happened. Nothing really happened as happened in extra time. Besides, um, besides the the besides in extra, nothing has happened in extra time besides in the Brazil Croatia game. And then of course, yeah, that's for the only time something happened in extra time. Nothing really happened in the Netherlands Argentina game. Then we got then it went to penalties, and he missed the first one. I think they missed the first two. Um, yeah, great save by Emi Martinez. Then their goalkeeper makes a good save. Um, so yeah, um, that's basically that. And yeah, what else in the Netherlands Argentina game? Nothing really else to say. Lewis van Gaal. This is probably his last tournament he's going to have. So yeah, but Argentina, they have not looked convincing, really not looked convincing so far this tournament. But I have Mani, yeah, with me. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I would have been here from the beginning, but I'm here now. So you were discussing about Argentina, Netherlands.
Yeah, Argentina and Netherlands. That's okay. So yeah, you can talk about that.
Yeah, well, basically it was a case of Argentina somehow managing to get slightly the better of the Dutch, in my opinion, at least for about um, 70 or so minutes. But their game management was quite poor. I think the Dutch obviously were looking to cause a few problems earlier on, but they just couldn't find that penetration to trouble Emmy Martinez. It was really only a gamble by Louis van Gaal to bring on Wout Weghorst, and it somehow worked in the last 10 minutes or so. 20 minutes, actually, if you factor in the ridiculous amount of extra time that was added. In extra time, though, after normal time, Argentina looked the more dangerous team and could have won it when Enzo Fernandez hit the post, but then it came down to penalties. And I just think, with the slightly more uh, um, greater amount of experience that Argentina had, it was just a little bit too much for the Dutch in the end. So I take your point when you say that Argentina haven't been convincing, but they found ways to win. And I think you can agree with me that ever since that shock loss to Saudi Arabia, they've been in knockout mode ever since. It's either win or go home. Hello? Well, I think he might have gone somewhere, but obviously, there was a lot of controversy about that match, of course, commentating on that with Hanno. There were so many yellow cards that were given and one red card after the end of the match, with Denzel Dumfries being shown two in succession, I think. And since then, another interesting subplot is that that Spanish referee, has since been sent home for what was deemed to be some pretty poor handling of that match. It was also quite fortunate, really, that he was sent home because, I mean, obviously for Argentina, there were many complaints from the players about the referee, with Emi Martinez in particular saying quite bluntly that he was useless. But just goes to show that sometimes when the referee tries to make himself the um, the main person, makes it all about him, it just doesn't have a good look. Sometimes, as a referee, you've got to let the game throw. Not throw. You've got to let it flow. You've got to let tackles be committed. But if people do go in hard, you can certainly step in. I think it's also a bit of an indictment on maybe both teams. Probably more Argentina at first, and then probably more the Netherlands at first, and then Argentina. That the game ended up being a little bit too choppy. More and more tackles were flying in. I think the Netherlands probably thought that was the only way they could stop Lionel Messi, but it is what it is. I don't know where Hanno's gone, but obviously, he must have gone somewhere. We're just talking about the first quarterfinal, of course, and we're going to get to the second quarterfinal on that side of the group. That was between Brazil and Croatia. What a game! What a game! Croatia showed that they were certainly not a team to be messed with. And Brazil, I think, after the win over South Korea, might have had perhaps a little bit of complacency. But Croatia also, it must be said, did their homework when it came to having to stop Neymar, but also stopping the attack from really finding that penetration. And of course, it was 0-0 at the end of normal time. In extra time was when things started to get heated with Neymar thinking he had scored. Hey, good to see you back. So I'd given my thoughts on the Argentina game, and obviously I take your point when you say that they weren't convincing, but they've been finding ways to win. And I still think that they have a very good chance of winning the whole thing.
Yeah, they have a good chance. But yeah, if we move on to the Brazil Croatia game, okay,
Yep, I was talking about that.
nothing really happened in the 90 minutes. It's Croatia looked really good. Like that was the first game that looked convincing. Um, and in Brazil, of course, I scored great goal by Neymar, but just lacking that to hold on. Then good goal by Croatia, and then penalties. We all know Croatian penalties. They are a different animal. But yeah, continue.
Yeah,
Continue.
I just think that when it came to that particular game, it was a question of Croatian tenacity. And, you know, credit should be given to the coach, Zlatko Dalic, who did his homework and made sure that his team was set up to not really give Brazil's midfield or wide players very much in terms of space to really do their thing. And it was frustration really that was evident on the faces of the Brazilians because they weren't able to break through. But in the end, it was a question of poor game management from them, and also when it came to the question of penalties, I'm not too sure who was responsible for Neymar not getting a kick until the very end, but Messi showed in the quarterfinal the importance of making sure that the captain and best player steps up to take an early penalty. In fact, in that game, both captains were the first penalty takers. Van Dijk had his saved, and Messi obviously scored. It was a question once again of nerves getting the better of both Rodrigo and Marquinhos, and of course Marquinhos, entrusted with that key fourth penalty, just hit the post, and it was all over. It was all over. I think Brazil were just outthought on the pitch, and when they had the goal, they just weren't able to keep Croatia out for too long, and it was the super sub Bruno Petkovic who got the equaliser. So a lot will be asked, obviously, about how they managed the game. I think Brazil also had more than a few injuries, which were, not really in their favour. I see some comments in the comment section. Galaxy 20 is certainly coming in. Chelsea fan, hello to you too, mate. Um, Brazil could have beaten them, but they didn't work hard enough. And coming up to Galaxy 20's next comments, they played a bit of Burnley ball. The same could also be said, really, of Wout Weghorst for the Netherlands, who also was on the books of Burnley, mind you, funnily enough. But while Argentina was somehow able to do enough to win, Brazil couldn't quite get over the line. And when it came to the issue of penalties, I think the issue of not really practicing sort of came back to bite them. You could see that the pressure was on them from the get go, while Croatia had the ability to relax, knowing that they had been in a shootout before and were able to deal with that quite effectively. But both Japan and Brazil against Croatia showed how not to take a penalty, while Argentina basically were almost, I would say, flawless. The only exception, of course, being I believe it was Enzo Fernandez who hit the post himself. So, in the absence of Brazil, it's an Argentina Croatia semi final. I think Croatia have shown that they are willing to take the penalties. Yeah, but when it's a question of who has the X factor, I also think that Argentina will have studied Croatia effectively. Both teams should play a 4-3-3. We're going to come to that, but Croatia, if they had lost, it would have been worse. They were 2-0 up and let them score in the 100th minute, let the game run longer. I wouldn't say they let them score, Galaxy 20. It was a question of the Netherlands, doing what they had to do. Obviously, their game management was poor, but that free kick was ingenious. It took everyone by surprise, from the defenders to the goalkeeper. And obviously, you could see how much it meant to the Dutch. And the Dutch we're actually riling up the Argentinians by saying that Messi's nothing special. We have it in us to beat them. And then, of course, when Emi Martinez, had completed done his job, and they had won, he gave an interview where he said the Dutch coach needs to shut his mouth. So, in some ways, it was almost poetic justice, but that game also was a disgrace. Brazil Croatia, on the other hand, was a lot more um, peaceful, if you will. And I think it's fair to say that with both games being decided by penalty shootouts, it was a question of who of those four teams, which two teams out of those four had the bigger nerve. I think Argentina and Croatia simply showed that they had the bigger nerve. They were collected, if you will. They just handled it a lot better, I would say. It was inexperience that cost the Netherlands, and it was uh, poor game management and inability to deal with pressure that hurt them. Teams win games, not superstars. True, always true, always true. Now we can move on to the next game, and that will sort of take place in the other part of the other side, really. Yeah, Morocco versus Portugal. That was a game which I wish I would have been able to watch, but I had to go out for a wedding reception. But I did catch the last few minutes. And from what I saw of that game, it was a question of Morocco taking advantage of some sloppiness from the Portuguese and then holding on magnificently, even when they went a man down near the end due to a sending off of Shadira, I think it was. Roman Saez, the captain, also went off injured. So it was a question of more defenders being brought on, all hands to the pump. But even when Cristiano Ronaldo was brought on with 40 minutes to go, he wasn't able to influence the game at all. And that match, heartbreaking as it was for him at the end, summed up pretty much how far he had come. Because prior to the World Cup, he was feeling really confident about how he still had it in him to be that person who could make a difference. And there was a bit of controversy about how he was selected to play his fifth World Cup, while the likes of João Moutinho, Portugal's second most capped player, was unceremoniously dropped from what would have been his fourth. And it was a question of definitely a last chance for Ronaldo. He was, of course, benched, as you will all remember, for the game against Switzerland, in part due to his petulant reaction to being substituted against South Korea. And while that gamble worked quite well, with Gonzalo Ramos scoring a hat trick against the Swiss, who were full of holes, just like their cheese, it didn't quite work against Morocco, who were a lot more solid. And Ronaldo came on and had the option to be a game changer. He just couldn't do it. And that sort of summed up how far he had fallen. And of course, the reaction from him at the end of the game pretty much said it all. Yeah, Portugal was your team, but they showed they didn't really want the win enough. Morocco ran the whole 90 minutes non-stop. There is something to that, but here's the thing. It's also quite fair to say that they were running on fumes near the end because obviously their captain had to be substituted. They had a man sent off, and somehow they held on for dear life. But it will be a case that injuries could, just as it did for this game, with the likes of Mazarawi also being out injured, it could also. I don't recollect whether he was injured or suspended. I'm not too sure. They seem to be running on fumes, and that's why I'm not too sure they will be able to repeat their heroics against France. But that will be something we will talk about in further detail. It was a question of really Portugal, as you said. I wouldn't say they didn't want it enough, but they just didn't have the ability to really penetrate, and they were missing chances. There were some terrific saves from Yassine Bouno, in particular one save from João Felix, where I believe Felix sort of tried to turn and shoot left-footed from outside the area, and Bono basically used his big right hand to palm that ball over. An instinctive save, a brilliant save. Certainly the type of form of a goalkeeper who's well on his way to winning the Golden Glove for being the best goalkeeper of the tournament. And as you said, Ronaldo has lost his legs. He might have to perhaps drop into more of a midfield role. Of course, if all reports are correct, he could end up going to play in Saudi Arabia, where the league is a lot slower, and he could recover a little bit of his confidence. Obviously, it's a bit like when Xavi Hernandez left Barcelona to move to Qatar to play for Al Sadd, and Iniesta also left Barcelona to play in Japan, where the leagues are a little bit slower, and probably there might not be that much in terms of pressure. So it's a sign of the times, really. I don't think any top team would be interested in Ronaldo now, while PSG are quite eager to keep Messi on, at least for the end of this season, maybe for another season. We will see. But yeah, it was a sad end for Ronaldo, but it was sort of fitting in the way, and Morocco deserved to go through to the semi-finals. I think for the tenacity they showed, for the desire they showed. Hasper, obviously, with your Greek connections, they kind of remind you of Greece in Euro 2004, and I think there might be some truth to that. Obviously, the team, plays for one another. There are some players who might not get minutes, but they also play important roles, and the team is absolutely united. But while Greece continued to stay strong throughout that tournament, I think it's fair to say that Morocco are starting to, tire a little bit, and they will come up against France in the semi-finals, and I just don't know if they'll have the legs to do that. A Morocco versus Croatia final will be great, and we will talk about that. Certainly, these two unheralded teams, by comparison, going through to the final would be quite magnificent. A great way for Africa to announce itself on the world stage, and obviously for Modric to end his career. But we will have to see. And maybe for Lionel Messi, as you say, Galaxy 20, he could have 2 seasons max. But here's the thing: he's much younger than Ronaldo, and he can. The type of player he is, he can certainly go on for a little bit longer. And he's also going to be that sort of player for whom the decline in his game will not be that obvious. And he's still producing some really good moments for Argentina in this tournament. I believe he scored 4 goals. Yes, 2 of them were penalties, but he's also been contributing with a lot of assists and some terrific runs and some great movement with the ball. He could very well end up being the player of the tournament again and winning the Golden Ball. I just hope for his sake that he doesn't win that Golden Ball, but lose out on the Golden Cup, as it were. And yeah, again, Ziyech has had a good tournament, and obviously, what a difference a changing coach makes. He had retired from international football, with following a disagreement with the previous coach, but then 3 months ago, prior to the tournament, that coach was sacked. Walid Regragui was brought in, and Ziyech came back, and the rest is history. Bono's also had a fine tournament, despite his very inconsistent season with Sevilla in La Liga, and several of those players, Hakimi, Amrabat, Enesiri, Boufal, and etc., have been performing magnificently. I just think, again, they're just running on fumes, and if it's a France versus Croatia final, I'm not going to see that again. I'm also going for a France-Argentina final. Understand the Messi thing. But now, Hannah, we're going to talk about France versus England. You were cheering for France. You wanted England to
Les
lose.
Blue, Les Blue, Les Blue,
Allez,
Les
les
Blue.
bleus. Yes.
Allez les Bleus, allez les Bleus, allez les Bleus, allez les Bleus.
I can take it.
Uh.
I can take it. I can take it.
Kylian Mbappe running down that left sexy road. He scores the goals. He gets the ladies. He breaks the records. Oh, his name is Sexy Chero. Ah, like, what a performance by England, yet they can't score a goal. So, yeah. For me, England, they played absolutely magnificent. They control the game, they pass the midfield, oh, and and just like how they could, they almost reminded me of Chelsea. Like uh, I, you dominate the ball, but yet create nothing. That is what it reminds me of. Because England, let's face it, you guys dominated France. You played them off the park. Zach was terrorizing. I think they down the down the right. He was terrorizing Fernandez. For Foden didn't have the best game. Kane, he had the game of the best game in the whole tournament. That's his best game for me. As I said, um, but they just couldn't like score and create chances. Of course, we all know the game changing points was was the Kane mess, of course, but also taking out Saka, which was which was um, which was the big thing. So yeah, but Southgate again, he does it again. Tactics wise, I'm sorry, not tactics wise, substitutions. Um, why is he bringing off Saka for Mount? And why is he maybe not taking off Foden earlier? Why is he bringing on Mount? Yeah, that's the questions you can ask. I think maybe not taking off Henderson and putting more attacking player up front. Go for it. Take off Henderson can play Rice and Bellingham. So yeah. Really interesting. Really interesting. But yeah. Uh, and yeah, they got two penalties, and that was the best chances there to score. I probably should have gotten three, but still. Um, but yeah, let's get guys. I was in the pub and I turned away for the second penalty. That's a bad feeling I had that he would miss. Well, South Africa is in South Africa. We are in the southern hemisphere of the world. Um, we are located in the south of Africa. That is where Africa is. Just fans. So yeah. Um,
I mean,
Death
the clue's in the
taxation.
name, really. Africa,
Yeah,
South.
yeah. Death taxes and England losing in the semi-final and final. That's the law. My whole life, England just keep losing. Team isn't good enough. Don't play a better IR football. It was the same tactics every World Cup. Southgate attacking needs to be now. Hasper says, I really want Gareth Southgate to go. Poch would be a bad shout. Would say idea, but can't see him leaving. For me, Poch is a bottom line. Why get a bottom? Kane, bottle job, typical Tottenham player. Yeah. Madison didn't get 1 minute. Yeah, that's a big one. England, yeah, I read the comments. Mickey Mouse out. Yeah, thanks. Uh, England should have just played two DMs, two DMs, push everyone forward, and three at the back. I wouldn't say three at the back because then you basically can only have three attackers. Maybe put Trains as a right wing, as a right wing back. Butch is worse, but better for Prem. Yeah, but I just got play just for your event fans. Just want to do this one quickly do this one thing. Uh, but yeah, Mani, what was your analysis of the game?
Well, let me start by saying that to any and all of you England fans who are still willing to curse referee Sampaio to the skies and say he deserves all the brickbats he can get, stop that now. He awarded England two penalties. Yes, the second penalty was thanks to the help of VAR, but it still was, the referee of the referee's team who eventually awarded it. In the first half, I've been going back and forth on this with a friend of mine who supports both Senegal and France. Born and brought up in Senegal, but has lived in France most of his life. One of my closest friends, of course. He now lives in Iowa in the US and still follows football with a passion. He was telling me that there might have been a period for about 15 minutes where France looked good, but he was still firm in his belief that England were the best team. And sure, we did force Hugo Lloris into making a few good saves to keep his team in it, but the biggest problem is when you come up against a France team, you've got to consider everyone. You can't just base your strategy on trying to neuter Kylian Mbappe and forget about Griezmann and a few others. In fact, the goal scorer himself was another midfielder, Chouameni, and you ignored him. He had acres of space. And of course, it was a desperate lunge by Bellingham to try to get the ball from him, but the ball went through his legs. I think it unsighted Jordan Pickford. It went down to his right side, his weaker side. So, in effect, it was his wrong side, whatever. And they took the lead. And we just went, for all of our running and our creation, we did force more than a few saves. We had more shots on target in the end. But Lloris was in really, really good form. I think he only conceded the
Yeah.
penalty, made some good saves to mark his record breaking 143rd cap for France. But sometimes it's about having the guile to continue to press and not, um, just give up when things aren't going your way. There were a couple of calls that were questionable, I think, which should have gone our way. I believe there was a foul on Kane in the penalty area. I believe it was Upamecano who tried to go through Keane's legs to get the ball and failed miserably, but neither the referee nor the VAR team were willing to award a penalty for that. Why? I may not have an idea. Maybe um, was Keane marginally offside? I don't know. I don't believe he was. And there was another foul in the build-up to that Chouameni goal where Upamecano again seemed to trip Saka up. That was allowed to pass, and the goal eventually was scored. But again, some of these decisions either go for us or go against us. The fact of the matter is that we did win two penalties. And there's a quote from the legendary Scotland and Celtic manager Jock Stein who said, "If you're good enough as a team, the referee shouldn't matter." And the simple fact is that the only stat that matters the only statistic that matters at the end of the day is the one in the goals column. France scored two. We scored one. We had a chance to tie it in the 83rd minute and missed it. Rashford came on and then had a chance to equalise with a free kick, which just went marginally over. And that was that. We might have been better in the second half, certainly better in the second half than the first half, because we knew what we had to do. But once again, Gareth Southgate showed why, just why, um, although his tactical ability before the game is outstanding, his management during the game is utterly clueless. And Hanno touched on it. We have two of our best subs, our two best attacking subs, in Jackie Grealish and Marcus Rashford. And you bring them on. You bring Rashford on with 5 minutes to go, just like Roy Hodgson did against Iceland in the Euros, hoping that he would work a miracle. You bring Grealish on with barely a minute left, which ended up being 3 minutes due to the stoppages, but still it was scandalous. And you expect those boys to work miracles for you? You bring on Mason Mount, who did win the penalty but didn't do very much afterwards. You bring on Sterling also. Both he and Mount came on early. You expect them to influence the game, given that Sterling had just come back to the squad?
Yeah.
It was awful. I don't think tactically Southgate got it wrong because he obviously
Yeah.
wanted to play Henderson on the right to provide support to Walker in terms of locking up Kylian Mbappe, and that did happen.
Sound, right? Sound gone. Just me? Because I can't see him. It's just me. Chat, let me know is it me or money. I can't see him. Don't know. Is it me? Or
Okay, what about now?
yeah, now I can hear. Now I can hear.
Okay, yeah, what about now? What about, okay, that's fine. So, Yeah, so effectively, Southgate set the team up well enough. He obviously wanted to provide some support for Walker in the form of Henderson, and Henderson had a magnificent game, pressing non-stop, trying to make some stuff happen. It was on the left that it looked a little bit weak. I thought Bellingham started slowly, but to his credit, got better as the game went on. But Foden wasn't really able to get into the game very much, and he had to be yanked off. And Rice was also doing quite well. But again, as with the Giroud goal, sometimes it's the moments, the clutch moments, that test you the most. And we failed in the clutch moments. It's as simple as that. But because of his poor substitutions as well, Southgate needs to leave. We need a new direction. And there have been reports about him report him considering leaving, given the strain it's taken on his mental health. He's a good man, and he's done well for England. But he had his chance to really take the game by the scruff of the neck, and he failed to do that. And not since Glenn Hoddle in 1998, former Chelsea player manager, by the way. He also, of course, is a Tottenham legend, Hasper might remember. Not since Glenn Hoddle of England had a manager who was tactically on the button before and during the game. And that was proved in France 98. So we need a new direction. I do not see Newcastle letting go of Eddie Howe. And
Yeah.
Pochettino would not be the best idea because although he knows Harry Kane and a few of the Spurs players very well, I'm not too sure he would be interested in that. And I think Football Ferreira has summed it up. It was Foden's worst game. Yep, needs to leave. His tactics were certainly poor. As for France, well, just like Argentina in their quarterfinal, they found a way to win and go through. So, as an England fan, I have no complaints. We put in a lot of effort. I can certainly be proud of the boys, but in the end of the day, we just didn't have that je ne sais quoi. I have to say that to get through. I'm not too sure Henderson needs to be taken off. I think he
Yeah,
was actually the one person, Hasper, in that midfield who was really providing the ballast moving forward. But he
yeah,
needed support, I would say. And I think Bellingham was starting a bit slowly, he got a little bit better, but sometimes in games like this, you've got to be on your game from the get-go. And I think Bellingham had a slow start, just couldn't really turn it on until much later when it might have been a bit too late. But it is what it is. And I think it's fair to say, Hanno, and I think all of you in the chat can agree, that the four teams who've won their quarterfinals and qualified for the semis have been either the best teams in the tournament or the most consistent teams in the tournament, and they deserve to be there. Would you agree?
yeah. It's just for me. England have been more consistent and better than France in the tournament. Um, but yeah, on this statement or comment by Harry, I just don't think so. No, so I think you were attacking, but you weren't bringing them down. Like I said, you reminded me of Chelsea. We dominate the ball, we dominate it, but we don't create chances. And that's a thing. I think you should have been taken off later in the match when you're chasing that game. Make sure to afford to free what on. Put Kane up there. Kane is going to drop deep, but yeah. Um, that drive was terrible the whole time. Yeah, you could say that. Kane is a great striker, just in the wrong team. Yeah, absolutely. He should come to Chelsea. That's what I think. Um, so yeah, Anderson played well. Yes, vamos, facts. That's fan. Um, but yeah, I'm just going to. I didn't see the Morocco Portugal game, so I can't comment much on it. But all I can say is, be up, Morocco, man. Be up. You've done Africa proud, and now just continued. I don't know if you can continue it, of course, once your captain is out. Um, so I don't know. Science is out, which I don't know. So yeah, Amrabat for Morocco, top three best player in the World Cup. Yeah, definitely, definitely. He's been classy. He's probably the best Moroccan player this tournament so far. Well, um, so yeah,
I would say it's a tie between Amrabat and Boufal. Maybe Amrabat would just edge it, but certainly in that quarterfinal when Sainz had to leave, Amrabat took the initiative and made sure that he was at the heart of the defensive effort to, really hold on and make sure they didn't concede anything. And of course, even then, as with the game against Spain, it was also all hands to the pump for the defense, and Spain actually could have won that game had Ricky Sarabia's effort gone in off the post instead of grazing the post and going wide. So
yeah,
I think there's another comment from Hasper who has just said that Morocco happens to be the most organised side seen in the tournament. There's a case for that because obviously
yeah,
the coach
yeah,
Walid has got the team playing well as a unit. They certainly apply a 4-3-3 formation with the right blend of graft and style, if you will. And certainly their defense looks very well organized indeed. Um, their man marking has been quite superb in many ways. Most of these defenses, if you notice, Hanno, you will see that they will just be at times engaging in ball watching and they'd lose the man they were marking when defending 101 strictly dictates you've got to stick to your man and not watch the ball and not lose your man. And so many of the goals that have been scored, especially from long range, have been the result of defenders losing their man and allowing them the time and the space to shoot. But Morocco probably haven't done that much, and that's why um, they've gone as far as they have. And I did see the whole Morocco-Spain game. That was definitely a hallmark of their play. So I
yeah.
don't know what you'd have to say to that.
Um, I watch all the games of Morocco just for the Portugal game. Um, but yeah, Morocco they've been great so far. They they're keeping the African dream alive. Will they beat France? That's another question. But they can do it. Be up yourself or rest. Be up lads. 100% of Croatia. Yeah, yeah. I have the sneaky feeling about Croatia, but we'll get into it. I pick Morocco ahead. Morocco, Croatia. I don't know. Be up in the Nepenis, Viva Morocco. Yeah, Viva Morocco. Viva, Viva Morocco.
In
But
Arabic,
yeah,
it would be Yalla Maghrib, and they're not only the first African team, they're the first Arab team to make it to the last four.
yeah,
So they're flying the flag for effectively two um, communities, if you will, which is absolutely amazing. And they deserve all the credit that they can get. But once we get to the semi-final review, we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about their chances. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, what do you mean with the Morocco and Croatia? Yeah, those have probably been the best organized team in the tournament. Probably Morocco slightly ahead of Croatia because Croatia they usually just drive it to penalties. And Morocco they won all the games beside in 90 minutes besides the first game versus Croatia, and then the game versus Spain which went to penalties. So yeah, um, but yeah, I think we'll move on to the semi-final. We'll preview that, and yeah, we'll start off of Argentina versus Morocco. Now, of course,
You mean
Argentina.
Argentina versus Croatia?
Sorry, Argentina, Croatia. My bad. But they Argentina have not looked convincing. But so Croatia, that Brazil game, they looked convincing. They looked like they knew what they were doing. That's scary. Check check Morocco quality for the World Cup in this. Yeah, they did. Nah, less of that, less of that, less of that. Up the Croatia, man, up the Croatia. um, But yeah, Argentina have not looked the best, right? Have really not looked good in this tournament. They have come away and dictate him to get the wins. Of course, the Netherlands aren't going to penalties. Barely holding on versus Australia. Croatia, they did not look convincing versus Japan, and that put people off and thought Brazil was going to run. I myself thought Brazil were going to run them over easy. It's going to be easy, but then um, they they done the unthinkable. They done the unthinkable. They looked absolutely superb. They they did Joseph, and they didn't get lucky, bro. They they kept Neymar quiet. They kept Vinicius Junior quiet. That I know Brazil had loads of shots, and of course, their keeper had to make some great saves. I think he made like 8 saves in the 90 minutes. I think 11 saves with the 80 minutes plus the extra time. He made 8 saves, yes, I believe. So absolutely magnificent for Croatia. They did deserve to win it. How they held on, and as soon as they conceded, I think many people thought the game was done. But they come back. They came back and they showed they're not going to let their World Cup dream go down so easily, and they got the goal. And it wasn't like in down to the 19th minute. It was 4 minutes to go. They never gave up. Like as Ari says, they never gave up. They never gave up, and they done them proud. Argentina, we all know their team. Well, if they can get that bit of brilliance from Messi, game's done. Can get that last bit of brilliance, it's done. So yeah. I, before I give my prediction away, Manny, what is your thoughts?
Well, I know that you probably don't have that much of a soft spot for Argentina because you keep saying that they have not looked convincing, they've not looked good, while Croatia certainly have been very organised, as people have said. And as you mentioned, how they were able to shut down both Vinicius Junior and Neymar, who were trying to combine down the left, was pretty amazing. I believe credit goes to uh, Juranovic, the right back, and also Modric, of course, who played on the right that game. And then, of course, I believe it was Pasalic who was trying to help out as well, along with Brozovic and a few others. So they did their job quite well and certainly limited the chances that they could have. Casemiro was certainly trying his hardest and couldn't get very much of a foothold. And of course, Croatia will be that same organised team in the semi-final against Argentina. They will have a 4-3-3. I don't think they'll have many injury worries or suspension worries, whereas with Argentina, they're going to be without Gonzalo Montiel, their backup right back, and Marcos Acuna, their first choice left back through suspension. Um, and obviously, that game against the Netherlands was really a dreadful game for both the purists. It was a dreadful game for anyone who wanted to watch. It sort of brought back memories of the Battle of Nuremberg in 2006 in Germany, and also in the World Cup final of Italia 90 at the Stadio Olimpico, when Diego Maradona's team simply besmirched that match and that tournament. But it will be a slightly patched up defense. Nicholas Taliafico will come in at left back to work alongside Nahuel Molina, who has certainly been impressive. And I certainly don't see Argentina going to a back three. They will play Christian Romero and Nicolas Otamendi. I thought Lissandro Martinez did do a decent job as a third centre back against the Dutch when they had to play three centre backs to counter the Dutch back five. But it'll be a back four, and the midfield three will be Rodrigo de Paul, who has responded well to
Oh,
being put to that position.
um, before you continue, sorry to interrupt, Rodrigo the Paul, bring him to Chelsea, please. Bring Amrabat and Rodrigo the Paul and Kudus. Bring those three. Bring them to Chelsea. Todd Bowley, bring them, please. I beg
Yeah,
you.
Mohamed Kudus could very well be the new Michael Essien, yes?
Oh, bro, he's so good. Oh, those three have been, for me, they've been on the same level. If you put those three in midfield, they could be on the same level as Brozovic, Modric, and Kovacic. For
Hmm.
me,
Yeah. Well, at the moment, DePaul will probably have his work cut out being a part of a three-man midfield alongside Alexis McAllister and Enzo Fernandez. And I think I've just seen a comment from Harry saying that Enzo could be going to Liverpool on a pre-contract.
uh,
Decent move for him.
look. Oh, Enzo Fernandez, no. He can also come to the bridge. We need midfielders. Bring him, bring him. He can also come. Nah, screw Liverpool, man. Screw them.
No, son, listen, if you want some midfielders, take some of the Croatia's midfielders. Brozovic would be good. He can partner with
Bring Brozovic also.
Kovacic.
Give me those five midfielders: Enzo, Rodrigo de Paul, Brozovic. Um,
You really are a greedy little bugger, aren't you? But anyway,
we need midfielders.
as I
Let's go.
said, so DePaul will be a part of that three-man midfield alongside McAllister and Fernandez, and Todd probably won't do that anyway. I think he's also changed his mind about trying to get Ronaldo. Maybe he shouldn't have sacked Thomas Tuchel. But anyway, and then the front three will be Julian Alvarez from Manchester City alongside Lionel Messi, and that third striker will be a bone of contention because yes, he scored the winning penalty, but Lautaro Martinez, as a target man, has not offered anything. And there's a huge controversy back in Buenos Aires and among many other Argentinian fan groups saying that Paulo Dybala, who in fact came on as a substitute and scored that winning goal when Argentina beat Italy in the Finalissima or the Artemio Franchi Trophy, has not been given any minutes to play, has not been given a proper chance. And he could be that type of person who could certainly get in through a defense and certainly cause some problems, almost similar to Messi, if you will. And Messi, let's not forget, is also on a booking.
Yeah,
So if he were to get booked in this semi final and miss out on the World Cup final, should Argentina make it?
that will be gutsy, you know. That will be like I
You
I would just
evil
be
little
like,
so and so. You
I,
evil little so and so.
that would be gutting. But if I was them, like if I was FIFA, I would just let scrap the. We forgot about that rule. It can play in the World Cup final. Like, just scrap
I
that.
suppose so. I suppose so. But certainly, someone like Dybala should be able to should be able to start, or at least come on as a substitute if you want to play Lautaro Martinez. Bring him off for Dybala and add a little bit more dynamism in case Argentina need a goal. Now, for all of the talk about the Croatian midfield, Argentina's midfield, I think McAllister has certainly been a very impressive player this tournament. We can't forget his goal against Poland, not by any means. And Fernandez has also slotted in well. That beauty of a goal against Mexico. And DePaul, I think you've got a midfield trio that can also certainly get stuck in, but also has the style to be able to move the ball very well indeed. So that midfield battle between those three and Brozovic, Modric, and I'm not too sure who the other one is. Kovacic, yes. How can I be not sure, man? Ridiculous. Those six together will certainly have a tight battle. And then it'll remain to be seen whether Messi can get the supply. Does he end up being that central pivot, as it were, that link? In all likelihood, it will be. I just think that with that little bit of an X factor, they have the ability to get through the most organized of defenses. And we've seen against Poland and Mexico in the group stages when Argentina needed to win both games, they just, Messi just turned on the style. He
Yeah.
found his range, he found his passing, he slipped balls through, he scored some worldies. I just think Argentina will slightly have a little bit too much. And let's not discount Argentina being able to win if it goes beyond extra time into penalties because look, ever since Emi Martinez has come in, you think of the Copa America semifinal against Colombia and the quarterfinal against the Netherlands. You have a person who, with all due respect to Dominik Livakovic, who did save the penalties, but they were poor penalties. While in stark contrast, the other penalties that Martinez has saved have been really, really good penalties, but he's moved brilliantly for a tall fella. I think he has to be right now the best penalty saving goalkeeper in the world. And the coolness and security that he exudes has been phenomenal. And when Argentina took their penalties, they were flawless penalties, except for maybe Fernandez, but then he hit the post. So the keeper wouldn't have gotten any credit, even despite the fact that he went the right way. So for me, Argentina do have enough about them to win this game, and I'm going for a 2-1 win. Um, if it's not Messi who scores, it will probably be Alvarez and I want to say either Fernandez or Dybala who will get the goal.
So you're going score prediction.
2-1 to the Albi Celeste.
Now I'm going 1-1. Croatia on pens. Croatia on pens.
No,
I think,
Martinez is the better penalty saver than Livakovic.
yeah, but I think, for me, I think Argentina choke all that pressure because it's Messi's last World Cup. Potentially, of course, he can maybe can play till 39, but um, I just think that the chance gets to the final. I think they crack under the pressure. I think
No,
they
I mean,
really
like,
do.
if Messi were to crack under the pressure, he'd have cracked a long time before, just like Ronaldo, just like Neymar. Messi stood above them. And
Nah,
so he
I,
could
I
very
don't
well
think
go on his
Messi will
way
crack.
to.
I think the rest will crack. I think the rest will
No,
crack because of Messi.
from what I've seen of Argentina, although I don't rate Lionel Scaloni and his tactics and game management, I think the team he has now, full of comparatively unheralded players, but they're playing to a plan. They're all behind Messi, and I'm pretty certain that they will come through in the end. But it will be a cracker of a game. I'm sure there won't be any major incidents. I'm sure there won't be too many cards, and I think Chelsea fan shares my prediction: Argentina to win 2-1.
Yeah. Uh,
The RB
Croatian
for
player.
Celtic, Juranovic, yes. We'll take him at Spurs right now in a heartbeat. Yep, Juranovic has been quality, mate.
I think Kovacic is underrated. Yeah, he's underrated, but he's been great. Croatia will fight until the end, and against Argentina should be a good game. Yeah, definitely. Todd won't do that
Yeah,
anymore.
he
Yeah,
won't
he
sign
will.
the midfielders you want.
He won't. He won't. He won't listen. But we move to France. Les Bleus versus Morocco. The Atlas Lions versus the
The
versus
cockerel.
like.
It was funny how Sol Campbell said the three lions would eat up the cockerel. Maybe the Atlas lions will have better luck.
Well, Money, I will let you start. What will happen? What will happen?
I just think that Morocco, since that game, I think they're starting to run on fumes. I also believe that France will see, so given that quite a few of their players also have experience of having played in Ligue 1, including, of course, Ashraf Hakimi, the battle between him and Mbappe will certainly be one for the ages, it has to be said. I just think France will certainly have the know-how. They've got the squad to, you know, uh, withstand everything. And for all the talk about how England certainly played really well in the second half, I think with the way the substitutes were being made, it was only a matter of time before France ended up coming through, and France were able to win the big moments. So In the big moments, neither the Spaniards nor the Portuguese were able to come up clutch. But I think the French will. They're not world champions for nothing. And Morocco have had a magnificent, inspiring run. But I just think that the doggedness and the passion that they've displayed, it could only take you too far. And bear in mind, they do have a suspension. I don't know if Roman Saez will be back. It's a case of their spirit being willing, but their flesh probably being a little bit weaker. France to go through 2-1. Mbappe and Griezmann to score for me.
Okay. Now, I think it's going to be tough for Morocco without Amrabat. Sorry, without Signs.
Says.
The big question is, can 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 Amrabat lock up lock up Griezmann? Because we saw versus England, we saw in periods. If you lock up Griezmann, you lock up Giroud, who, and Mbappe, and Dembele. Can can Amrabat do that? Can he do what Modric did was against Neymar? I think he can, but I think France going to win it 1-0. France 1-0, I reckon. I think they do it. Just
Well,
think
Morocco
they,
might score. It'll either be En Nesri or maybe Boufal who'll get the goal for me.
but I can't see Morocco winning. I can see them taking it 1-1 and taking it to to
Penalties.
penalties or even scoring extra time. But I'm going to say 1-0 France. Um, that might change. Of course, I am in Sunny That Sports, guys. If you know Sunny, be up. Those be up Sunny, be up those also know Sunny. Um, Shout out to him. I'm in his prediction league. That my
Chelsea fan
prediction
has
for
my
his league.
predictions.
Nah, my predictions for his league might differ from what I have here, but oh boy, it's going to be an interesting one. But yeah. Anything else to add? So okay, let's say you got Argentina France final. Who wins? Who wins in the final?
France.
France. I got Croatia France. I'm going to say France. When it's against both me and Mani. As of now, say France. Maybe a Croatia Morocco final. Maybe. Oh, that
Yeah,
would be perfection.
it'll be one
Um,
for the ages. And let me say that as an English fan, I despise Argentina as a team, but in Lionel Messi and, of course, Emi Martinez, there are two players there for whom I have nothing but the softest of corners. So
yeah.
it's conflicted.
Um,
It's conflicted.
it's good. It is. But be up, everyone. Be up yourselves. Great stream. I see we got 2 new subscribers. So we're only 15 away now from 300 with less than 15 days. Oh, sorry, more than 15 days left in this month. Um, it will be massive. If we could reach 300 by the end of the year. Um, but yeah, it's going to be a madness. What happens tomorrow and on Wednesday, of course. But yeah, we're 2 likes away from 15. So if you haven't already, please make sure to like the video and share the channel and subscribe if you haven't already. But yeah, as for content, before I let Manu shut these socials, as for content, I will be doing a watch along to Sunderland versus West Brom. It will be the first EFL Championship watch along. Hopefully, it's a good game. I think it's going to be a good one. So do tune into that one. It's only football really on tonight. So if you want to watch a bit of football, definitely tune into that watch along. Um, so yeah, what's it? Commenting. Gradual one on pants. Go on, Harry. Go on, go on. Good stream. And man, see you next time. Yep, yourself, Chelsea fan as always. But Manny, where can people find you?
Yeah, first of all, you can find me over here on the Coach's Corner doing a few watch alongs and having a few streams with Mr. Trollope himself. Love talking about sports with him. Very passionate young kid who obviously shares a real passion for sports himself and does have a great deal of knowledge about the games he follows. You can also catch me on S. Featley TV, where I do some work with him, a few watch alongs too. Um, Del Boygan on TV did a watch along with him for the Nations League clash between Ireland and Norway. You can also catch me on his call in shows. He was, of course, the first channel I ever joined and my introduction to the YouTube community. Oris Talks Football, obviously, he's just joined in. Several other channels on YouTube: Tony Claude Gunner TV, Danny AFC TV, Chelsea Dan TV, where I'm often asked to come and to play my part in debates, and a few more channels as well. If I haven't mentioned you by name, I'll send you a check in the post. But I love going on YouTube and talking about sports, any type of sport, with like-minded fans of all ages. You can either be as young as Hanno or as old as Jez Collins or Warren Bartholomew or even Eugene Asia Spur TV. Shout out to him as well. I've done a few watch-alongs with him. Really top fella. Social media, catch me on Instagram, Manny Thangadurai 1981. That's my full name and my year of birth. Twitter, Thangadurai 1981, my surname and my year of birth. You can catch me talking about everything from sports to politics to a little bit of economics to some environmental news, anything under the sun. Until then, I will hope to catch to meet a lot more of you in person. But until then, enjoy your Monday and have a good week. Don't do anything either Hannah or I wouldn't do. And for now, I'm out, peeps.
See you all limit. My socials, you guys can catch that in the description below. So yeah, for now, we'll say goodbye. Be up yourselves. See you all in a bit.